Hello and welcome to Link Ahead, the City of Dublin podcast. And you know every month in Dublin is Earth Month, but we really step it up each April, right, Bruce?
That's right, Lindsay. City Council has the vision of being the most sustainable global city of choice, which is a lofty goal, but one that we can totally rally around. And here to talk about all things green is Management Analyst Emily Goliver. Emily, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This has really been a dream of mine for a while now.
Nice. Let's start here. What's one thing we're doing this Earth Month that you're most excited about?
It's hard to pick just one. We have a lot of stuff going on. And what I really like about what we have is that there's something for everyone. So there's diversion programs with our Document Destruction Day. There's a planting with the Ferris Wright planting that we have on Earth Day. And then we also have a drug take-back event, which helps our water supply and keeping our water supply clean. I think that I'm a little biased on this one, but we have partnered with the Chamber of Commerce's Leadership Dublin program to do a native plant planting on Earth Day. It's not a public planting,
Right.
but it's a recommendation out of our Community Services Advisory Commission to set up an educational planting bed. So our Leadership Dublin class has taken that over, and they will be doing that planting and working with your team on the graphics and on the educational and promotional component. So I really like that one because it shows our partnership with the chamber, and it is also something that we're doing at the recommendation of our CSAC.
Sure.
And part of what's so great about this is people need to wait for an event. This just kind of lets people know what they can do. So you can plant native plants in your own backyard. And everybody, I think that to encourage everybody just to do something during Earth Month, to contribute to the environment, that's kind of what it's all about.
Absolutely. And this will be available as well for our commercial residents that want to see how can a landscape bed work on their commercial properties. So it's at our service center. So it's the city of Dublin showing here's one of our office buildings that we've converted one of our beds to native plants. So I'm excited about that.
And I have to double back about the Document Destruction Day, AKA Shred Day. And Bruce, is this not one of the biggest questions we get all year round? People
All year round.
January 1st, February 1st, whatever. When are you guys going to have that Shred Day? When are you going to have the Document Destruction Day? And so we are so thankful that you have that twice a year. It's always very well attended and it's very popular with the residents.
Right. I mean, and you kind of touched on, Emily, that it's not just the city. This is like a partnership thing. This is not, the city can't save everything, Can you talk about partnerships and how important that is?
The Chamber of Commerce is a great partner for our business community. And then we also partner a lot with SWACO. So a lot of our household hazardous waste event, a lot of our events we do in partnership with SWACO. We also have received a grant from SWACO. In the past, the Event Waste Reduction Grant has gone for the Irish Festival several times, and Community Waste Reduction Grant is actually how we launched the composting program. So we've gotten some grant funding from SWACO and some of our other partners. Rumpke, we work very closely with for promoting what is recyclable and educating people on recyclable materials. The Recycle Right campaign is something that we're part of again this year. So we're excited to work with them again on that campaign.
Yeah, you mentioned the composting program. Again, another hugely successful program all year round, but especially for the pumpkin composting.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we can't find bins big enough for
Right.
all of the
No.
pumpkins. And same with styrofoam. It's really been a rallying cry around the community. And one thing we love to point out is that Dublin residents love to recycle. Our diversion rate is higher than the state and national averages, among the best in the region. Once again, we are participating in the Recycle Right campaign, which just reminds residents about what all we can recycle. And there have really been some advancements over the last couple of years. So give us some highlights about what we can recycle now. It's really exciting.
So I think the biggest difference that is pretty recent just in the last year is that plastic cups can be recycled. So DORA cups, if you're out enjoying the DORA, those are recyclable. And that also goes to the beer cups at the Irish Festival or your water cups from Starbucks. So that's a big one, and that's going to have a lot of benefit. And then, Lindsay, you mentioned the styrofoam recycling that we've launched at the service center. That is something that we launched in September and has been wildly popular. It's hard to wrap my head around this number, even though I saw it, but we have diverted 1 ton of styrofoam from the landfill, so that gets reused, and it's a crazy number when you think about how light.
Well, yeah,
styrofoam
because
is,
that compresses down, so 1 ton is a lot of styrofoam.
Styrofoam weighs pretty much nothing,
Yeah.
so that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I wish people could see. I know we've had pictures out of the 3 shipping containers back in our fleet lot, just packed with styrofoam. So I can visualize it, but it's still hard to even imagine.
So I've been here for 22 years, and I think we've been named one of the top green fleets for about half of those years. We're always in the top of these lists in North America. Give us some highlights on our green fleet.
I love talking about our fleet
Yeah.
because I think that it's really easy to get focused on diversion programs, but our fleet does so much. I think we did some math a couple weeks ago for State of the Community, and because of our electric vehicles and the electric vehicle infrastructure that we've put out for the community, we saved $25,000 in gas alone, which is another crazy number. We have several Nissan Leafs that we drive around. We have recently purchased, sometime last year, a electric van. So our custodial staff who goes between each of the buildings every day, they're able to drive around with a zero carbon emission vehicle. And then we also have clean burning fuel. So we even have some of our snow plows, our CNG fueled plows. So we're really focusing on that, and that has been a positive effort. And it's also something that, we can't just do that alone. Our council has gotten behind that so fully with funding that. So through the CIP, we're able to purchase all of these, and they've been very generous in how much they've given us to do that.
Yeah, and it's sort of a policy where, as we're replacing fleet, you always look for greener options as we're going forward.
And so how do we stack up in Ohio? Are there other cities that we compare ourselves to, or nationally when it comes to green fleets?
Bruce, we're in the best of North America.
I get it.
I mean,
North America. We're
North
talking
of the whole
Earth Month.
continent.
Earth Month. The rest of the Earth. What are we doing? What's out there?
So through the Infrastructure Act, there was a lot of funding given to the states for electric vehicle infrastructure. And the state of Ohio is kind of dispersing that. So we are working on an electric vehicle infrastructure study right now to expand the infrastructure in Dublin to provide more electric vehicle charging stations for residents, for our own city vehicles, but looking at what infrastructure needs we have, where we need to get that amount of electricity to. So that is something that is coming. And then just the state of Ohio, we have had a lot of electric vehicle, like the battery facilities come in the Columbus region, specifically with Honda over in Marysville. So
huge investments.
Right.
Absolutely. So there's been a large investment on that. So in the next several years, we'll see those come online in those manufacturing plants, and that will certainly be impacting the number of EV vehicles that we are able to manufacture in Ohio.
Well, let's back up for a moment because we were at Citizen U the other night together. That's a little plug for a program we do around here where residents can come just learn about the city. And you're introducing yourself and someone says, what is a management analyst? So, for our listeners out there, tell us a little bit about your career path and what it is you do here for the city.
Whenever someone asks me what a management analyst is, I usually respond, that's a really good question. Let me know when you figure that one out. Depends on the day that you ask. But I grew up in Dublin. I went to Miami for undergrad. And then I started between my junior and senior year of undergrad as an intern in outreach and engagement here for the city of Dublin. And I just loved it. I loved working for Dublin. I loved this opportunity. And that really changed what I wanted to do with my life. So then I ended up going to Ohio State. I got my master's in public administration. And I had transitioned at some point during my master's over to working in economic development. So I was able to see a whole new side of local government, a little bit more on the policy side. And that really led me to want to just do this and do this as my career. So I really love what I do. It depends on the day of what I am doing, but I usually say that being a management analyst is a mix of data analytics, policy research, policy analysis, benchmarking against other cities. And we work a lot with our finance department on preparing the operating and the capital budgets and doing a lot of financial analysis, quarterly budget reports. So just a little bit of everything, and work heavily with all of the divisions to make sure that their performance metrics are accurate and best represent what they need to measure.
Yeah, you really get exposed to everything in the city. You work with every division. And I have to say, our management analysts are always just these rock stars that, are going to be just amazing, as they grow in their careers. So they're like little city managers in training is how I think about it. So is that sort of your career goal? Do you want to be a city manager someday? Is that the dream?
Maybe. I would say maybe for now. I think that
Watch out, Megan. She's coming
Oh
after your
boy, oh
job.
boy.
I have always really liked the idea of being the number two. So my boss is Robert Rance. He's the deputy city manager.
There you go.
And, I think that he has. I think that my job is the best job in the city, and I think that he has also a very cool job in the city because he gets to work with all these departments. And
Well, you're wrong. We have the best job in the city. So they're all great jobs, though.
Well,
That's
but you kind of touched
Everyone
on
says
it,
that.
but you dipped your toe, and I feel like when people dip their toe in the water for public employment, it's like you don't know what's going to happen. But it's a common thread on people we have on here that once you start with Dublin, it's like, holy cow, we have resources, we have opportunities, we have a great resident base, we have a great business base. So, what was it that just drew you to wanting to stay and work here?
The immediate impact of what you
Mhm.
do. You drive around the city and you see something and you're like, I worked on that project. Or you go to the Irish Festival
Mhm.
and you see every city department has a hand in making that happen. And you see people really enjoying kind of what you have put together. So that's what I really love about local government. And I think just that automatic direct impact that you have on people. And then you also are able to set the scene for we are enjoying the hard work of people that were here
Sure.
30 years ago
Mhm.
when the city was founded. And so you know that policies that we're writing now and the work that we're doing now, we are setting up other people for success in the future.
So let's go back a little bit further. You said you were born in Dublin. So you went to Dublin Kaufman High School. Was there something at a young age that instilled your passion for the environment?
I would say, I always was aware of recycling. I was always focused on that being I think it was just my parents telling me what was right to do. When
That's
I got
good.
to
Good
yes, I
parenting.
know.
Yeah.
Shout out to my mom and dad. And when I got to college though, my freshman year, I took a geography class, just a gen ed, had to take it.
Mhm.
And that is we watched a lot of documentaries in that class and it was very environmental focused. And that's where I was really like, wow, like we need to do a lot of work. I can personally be doing better on a lot of things. So that is really where I think my passion for sustainability kicked off and my desire to go learn more and go watch documentaries on my own, do research on my own, and just learn as much as I could to make sure that what I am doing is the best that I can do for the environment.
Well, now fast forward. So we have the most sustainable goal, and it falls on your shoulders. So
Just
uh,
yours
just a little
alone.
bit. I know you're finalizing a sustainability framework. So talk a little bit about what's in that and where you think the city's going to be like 5 years and 10 years out.
Yeah, so we have in the past we had an internal driven sustainability framework and that has really been our guiding document for several years now. And this year city council budgeted for us to go hire a consultant to put together a world-class sustainability framework. And that's what we're working on right now. We put the RFP out and we're working on selecting a consultant. So in the next couple of years, we'll be implementing some of the goals. That'll be kind of a year-long process.
Yeah.
And so in the next several years, I'm excited to see what comes out of that because that will really feed what does the next 5 years look like? What are our tangible, measurable goals that we can do? And as part of that, we're focused on doing a greenhouse gas inventory because part of the most sustainable environmental goal that we have is to be carbon neutral. So we need to see where we're at now to
Right.
see how we can get to carbon neutral and to measure our success towards that goal.
Is it coming from top down or from bottom up? Are residents coming to us and saying, hey, have you thought about this? Or, where's that coming from?
It's both.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool position to be kind of in the middle of that because we have a very passionate resident base.
Yeah.
That native plant project that I was talking about earlier, that was really resident driven. We had a very passionate group of residents come to CSAC and talk about why native plants are good and why, we as a city have planted natives and we have prairie spaces in our parks. I think it's about 80 acres of native or prairie space. We have been practicing that, but how can we influence externally? Because like you said, Bruce, we can't do it all on our own. We need to have our partners help us. So that was really resident driven. But then we also have our council who has put money behind everything they have said. They are walking the walk fully. We had a council member the other day at council ask about events and how we can be more sustainable in our events. So it's certainly something that is on their radar and something that they want us to be pursuing. So, and like I said, they budgeted for us to find this consultant to be, as our city manager has described before, the the best sustainability framework on the planet. So that is what our
Nice.
goal is.
Did you tell them about the quench buggy?
I have not said that.
Oh.
Part of the most sustainable goal as well is fiscal sustainability. So
Sure.
our finance director has been very supportive with the quench buggy.
Whoa.
Don't-
Define quench buggy. I'm a little lost on this term.
So I mentioned earlier that we have gotten event waste reduction grants through SWACO. Last year, we got a grant to purchase, to rent 2 water refill stations, and it's a company called Quench Buggy.
Okay.
And we were able to divert from the Irish Festival. I'm trying to remember the exact number. It is over 17,000. I think it's 17,700 water bottles that just did not go into the waste stream at all.
That's great.
Because, like I said, our residents are so passionate about this, and people that were at the Irish Festival, it was free water, free,
Right.
clean, safe drinking water. And that's something that I'm really passionate about. And I have a friend who's getting a PhD in water policy. So, she tells me all about the water policy and why we need access to water is a human right.
Right.
And everybody should have access to clean and safe drinking water. So that's something that we've gotten behind, and to the point that we have purchased our own quench. It's a quench cart. So it's a smaller version of
Okay,
what
we're
was
not
at the
copyright
Irish.
infringement right
I like quench buggy better.
Yeah.
It is. They have the company has a couple different models. So this is
Okay.
their mid-tier model, but it is now ours, and we can use it at the 4th of July. We can use it at the Memorial Day picnic that we have. So we can be providing residents, and we can limit the amount of plastic water bottles that are being used at these events. And just anywhere, if there's an emergency situation, we have access to it. Filters the water, so we can hook it up, and we have access to clean and safe drinking water. So it's a really cool thing. We joke around a little bit about it, but it actually, it has a lot of good that it can do for both the environment and for like I said, the emergency situation. So
Right.
No, I think it's great. I
Yeah.
mean, and anywhere you go now, you'll see these refillable water stations. And so that's really just kind of the direction that we're going. So I think that's great. So you're talking about the most sustainable goal and some actual measurable metrics that we can put into place. So what's the one thing or the one measurable outcome that you hope to see during your time here where you'll say, okay, we've done it. We are the most sustainable now?
the short answer is we're not going to be done.
Sure.
There will always be advancements in technology, new research done, that there's going to be something that we can do better. I think that, I'm excited to see what this sustainability framework, as we work through that, what it says on our measurable outcomes. But there are a lot of things that I think that we can work on, and things that we're doing just because we're doing them. We're going to start working on getting composting in our buildings, because we have this compost drop off.
Amen.
And
Yes, thank you.
and that is just something that we can just do that.
Mhm.
So Chris Will in our planning department and I have talked a little bit about that. And again, he just came up with that idea, and I was like, let's do it.
Shout
Let's
out
run
to
with
Chris.
it. Yep.
That's
Well, to
great.
get him on here someday. So, that's great. And I know that, so like our coffee pods are compostable, and you're starting to see more plates and, plasticware and things like that. That's all compostable. So we could really increase that diversion rate. So
For sure.
So one other thing you do here in Dublin is help coordinate our corporate charity cup teams. We try not to go a single episode around here without talking about pickleball. So I'll just say Bruce and I were on the pickleball team, for that. We're not very good, but we try. So
Getting
let's
better.
talk a little bit about that, because some of our listeners, if they work here in Dublin, might be interested in getting involved. It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. The Corporate Charity Cup is one of our partnerships with the Chamber of Commerce. It is an Olympic-style event. So any business
Just
in
like
Dublin,
the Olympics.
yeah,
Yes.
it's really high-quality competition. But actually, I joke about that, but I mean, our volleyball team, led by Lindsay here.
No, it's led
Outstanding.
by Kendall Blake for sure. But
Kendall Blake, yes.
I said that I'm going to be the captain of the B team, because last year we had enough people on the volleyball team
Right.
that we really needed 2 teams.
2 squads.
So
That is true, yes. Our volleyball team is very competitive and competes heavily with Cardinal Health's volleyball
Yeah.
team.
Cardinal shows up in buses with like 3 or 4 teams, and they've been practicing all year. I mean,
I'm pretty
seriously.
sure that's why they built that second building in
Yes.
Dublin. It's a practice training facility. We played them in kickball, and it was always a high-scoring affair. And then they dropped kickball off the. It's not in the competition anymore. So
I think it might be back this year. Don't quote me on that one, but I saw the list of events, and I think it's back.
All right, after we record this, I'm going to go recruit players.
But the event's in June, and there's information on the Chamber's website, right? So
there is, yes, and so registration is now. Businesses can go sign up for that. It's a Thursday evening and Friday, and there's Olympic style events, but there's something for everybody. So there's yoga, there's an airplane, paper airplane throwing competition.
I would be terrible at
that. So if the sport aspect and the competitive aspect isn't your thing, I did 3-on-3 basketball last year horribly, but if that's not your thing, there is something for everybody. And then there's also the wellness component of the Corporate Charity Cup, because there is the reason it is called the Charity Cup is the top 3 winning teams get to donate a certain amount to their charity of choice.
Yes.
So there is a charitable component, and then there's the wellness component. There's a distance medley relay race. So if you want to go run a mile, if that's
because you want to,
yeah, just on a random Thursday or Friday.
I think our team did pretty well last year.
They did
we got
very
like
well.
second place, maybe.
Yes,
yeah, they did good.
Does this influence hiring practices with HR to compete into this event?
Yes. So. Well, that's why we had our intern last year. We're like, oh, Megan, you're good you're good at volleyball. You're hired.
Yes, she was very good at volleyball.
Very good.
If we needed another intern this summer or just a seasonal for 2 days, I'll take her.
Yes.
So sports and competition are kind of in your DNA, and you played and coached lacrosse and field hockey at Kaufman. So what's one thing about coaching that you learned, and do you miss it?
I do miss it.
Yeah.
I think that this job makes it really difficult because
you work every night of the week.
Yeah, work a lot. But coaching taught me a lot about, I think that I just as a person, I have a hard time letting things go and letting go of control. And I learned that, I can pick 11 girls to be out on the field, and then I trust them fully to go execute what we have practiced and what we have planned. And then when we have at each quarter, we can talk about it and we can improve and we can get better, but just trusting them to go do their job. And so I learned a lot about controlling what you can control. I learned a lot about that from having to deal with refs as well.
Sure.
Every sport. But I do miss it. I definitely miss the relationships with the girls and getting to know them. And it's been an interesting transition in my I've played field hockey since I was in 6th grade.
Wow.
So
Wow.
This is kind of the first time, this past year was the first time that I have just been a full spectator. So it's an interesting transition in your relationship with the sport.
We talk about letting go, and our previous guest, Kent Merker, talked exactly about that,
Right.
about having amnesia, is what he said, and just kind of, having a short memory, and you leave it all out there on the field, and then come back to try another day. Okay, well, as you mentioned, you're an avid Link Ahead listener, so I know that you know all about the rapid fire tradition. So, Bruce, start us off.
What is your worst habit when it comes to the environment, and that you want to change?
Yes. 2 things. I would say first, I know this is supposed to be rapid fire. I'm sorry.
Everybody says
it doesn't. It never goes that way.
The first is just when I was in college, I went to Miami, I said, and I walked everywhere. If you told me it was 25-minute walk, I was walking.
Sure.
If you told me it was a 25-minute walk now, I'd be like, I'm getting in my car.
Oh,
so
that's true.
There's that. And I studied abroad in London, and walk everywhere, an hour, I would walk it. And
it's so true. And I think that that is something we all do. And here in Dublin, we talk about our 150 miles of paths. We could all just walk.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We could walk to downtown Dublin from City Hall, but who does that? We just don't do that.
Right. Well, we are getting the employee e-bike program
I am
will be
excited
launching
about
soon.
that.
So
Big
this
fan
summer,
of that.
maybe we can bike down to historic Dublin.
Does
on
that
our
have a
way.
sidecar by chance? So then I can have somebody pedal. And
Lindsay
I'm
can
picturing
pedal.
I'm pedaling and you're in the
Yes.
sidecar. I like it.
Maybe
yeah.
we'll get a little basket on the front.
there
for
we
you to
go.
sit
Thank
in.
you.
Okay, so how do you react when you see people out and about not recycling? Be honest.
It depends if I know them.
Okay.
I did.
So if you and I are walking around and you see me throw my my coffee cup into the trash, you're going to be like,
Yes. I Kendall Blake the other day, I'm gonna out her here. She unintentionally threw away an aluminum can in front of me, and I said, Kendall,
gasp.
Oh boy.
excuse me. And then I proceeded to fish it out of the trash can and move it to the recycling bin, which I did have to walk a little bit to get to it. But I would never do that to a stranger.
You doing that though, you know, the recycling police. And
yeah. Lindsay knows. We've been in enough meetings that if I see, I'm like, oh, that's recyclable. Just a reminder.
Right.
Emily, Dublin is greener because
the people care about making it greener.
Okay, sport you wish you were good at, but you're just not.
I can't swim.
What?
I know.
Good to know.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I'm a former lifeguard and swim instructor, so I'm gonna have to fix that.
I know.
I seriously have a personal passion about people being able to swim. What if you're on a boat and you fall off?
I can doggy paddle to an extent.
Okay.
My brother was in the Navy though. He went to the Naval Academy, and I hate to say this, I hate to brag on his behalf. He got 1 B in college, and it was swimming.
Oh,
so it is. I think it is a Goliver
What?
family thing. Our parents tried, but the two of us just cannot swim.
Our management analysts end up being sort of Jack and Jills of all trades. What's the strangest thing you've had to do for your job?
When I was getting my master's degree in public administration, hoping to go into local government, I had no idea I was going to be running a small business, but Pop-Up Dublin was.
Oh, yes.
I really got to say, Kendall, that was Kendall's brainchild. I was just here to support Kendall, but the two of us were small business owners for about 6 months, and we had a lot of support from your team and a lot of our departments, but that was definitely something that was, I would not have pictured that. I did not have that in the cards, but it was a lot of fun. We learned so much, and the fruits of our labor are evident as someone who's going into that building. So it was a very successful program.
Yeah. And for our listeners who don't know, Kendall Blake is another management analyst. So in a future link ahead.
Yeah, apparently we've plugged her enough. That we bring her on
well, and I should also plug for Mitch if I'm going to talk about Kendall. There are 3 of us. We talked about the management analysts earlier. There's 3 of us. We all report to the city manager, but then we have our different work groups. So I focus with our deputy city manager and everything that's under him. And then Kendall is with our administrative services, and Mitchell is with the community development department. So
and we just refer to you as the Trident.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. I know you gave up sweets for Lent. So what was the first treat you ate after Easter?
Ice cream.
Oh,
Wow.
man. I used to give up ice cream all the time because I love it so much.
One of our wonderful admins, Samantha Murch, she gave up ice cream. So together we're breaking the Lenten fast of sweets and ice cream.
Yeah, I love that. Emily Goliver, thank you for joining us here on Link Ahead. I don't want to say one of our rising stars because you already are a star. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And to our listeners, thank you as well for taking the time to connect with your city. Tune in next time as we continue to explore the many personalities and experiences that make Dublin a thriving place to live, work, and grow.